Greg Ehrenberg from Odd Chopper here to bring you the best bets from Saturday's UFC card. The main event, Cyril Gane versus Tai Tuivasa, also taking place in Paris, the first UFC event that's taken place in Paris, so that should be pretty exciting. I'm about to break down my best bets of the card, so do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and also leave a comment below. Let me know whatever it is that you guys are betting on for the card. It could be just a money line, it could be a prop, whatever it might be. Let me know, and if your bet wins, you have a chance to win a free week subscription to our premium betting Discord. Also, quick recap of the last slate of bets I did, which was a little while ago because there was no card last week. And then the other one we had was 2 weeks ago, was the Kamaru Usman Leon Edwards card, which feels like forever ago at this point. But the bets I had there, we were profitable for the slate. I had 3 bets. One of them got canceled. It was Miranda Maverick to win by submission. That fight got scratched, so there was no action there. The other 2 bets I had were both plus money bets. One was Jared Gordon to win inside the distance. He ended up winning the fight, but not by finish. Then the other one was Merab Dvalishvili. I had him plus 150 to win by decision, and he won a pretty easy non-competitive fight against Jose Aldo. So the fight was a little bit boring, but got the job done. We ended up profiting for the slate. So that's the recap of the last card of bets we did. But for today, I'm about to break down Saturday's UFC card and my best bets for the day. The first bet I'm looking at on Saturday, it's in the co-main event, and I have Robert Whittaker to win by decision over Marvin Vettori. The line on that is minus 115. Now, to be honest, I think the line for this fight is a little bit too wide. Whittaker is currently a massive favorite, north of minus 200, but I do think he should be favored in the fight, and if he wins, I almost certainly think it's going to be by decision. So with that in mind, that's why I do think there is value on the minus 115 prop to win by decision. And there's a couple of reasons why. First of all, I think both these fighters are very durable, both Vettori and Whittaker. So when it comes to Whittaker, we have only seen him stopped once at this division, and it was in a fight against Israel Adesanya when they were fighting for the middleweight title. This was when Adesanya first won it off of Whittaker, then ended up being a second-round stoppage. But other than that, we've seen Whittaker hurt at times. We've seen him do the stanky leg. We've seen him do the chicken dance, and he's generally survived. He's shown to be tremendously tough, and Marvin Vettori is not a fighter who generally finishes people on the other side of this fight either. If you look at all of his wins in the UFC, he's never knocked out any of his opponents. He has 2 submission wins, one over Carl Roberson, who doesn't have much of a ground game, and then one was in his UFC debut against Alberto Uda. So in terms of high-level opponents, we've never seen Marvin Vettori win inside the distance. So I do think this is a fight that's fairly likely to go to the judges' scorecards. And with that in mind, I'm favoring Whittaker to win the fight, so I think that this is where the prop for him to win by decision makes sense. But here's why I think the matchup is a good one for Whittaker, and it's kind of a tailor-made matchup for him. This is something that when he was first on his rise to becoming the middleweight champion, we saw him in a lot of these matchups against pretty wrestle-heavy fighters or grapple-heavy guys, and it was something he had a lot of success with, because Whittaker's tremendous takedown defense. He is an 83% takedown defense rate. We very hardly ever see him get taken down, and that's despite a lot of matchups against really high-level wrestler grapplers. So look at him when he was first breaking into the UFC and making his climb towards becoming a contender. He fought against Tavares, Uriah Hall, Rafael Nadal, but then after that, here's where he started to see a step up in competition against really capable wrestlers or grapplers. Derek Brunson. Brunson was not able to take down Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker ends up finishing Derek Brunson with a head kick in the first round in that fight. Then his next fight was against Jacare Souza. Souza got 1 takedown, but Whittaker was able to pop right back up. And Souza, another guy, if you guys remember him in his prime, former Strikeforce champion, he was also a very, very good wrestler and arguably the best grappler in the history of the division. Then 2 fights against Yoel Romero. Romero was not really able to have much wrestling success. Across 2 fights, he took Whittaker down a total of 3 times. But keep in mind that in that second fight, Whittaker also blew out his knee in the fight. So that was something that played a factor. But other than that, Romero didn't really have any sustained wrestling grappling success. We saw Whittaker pop right back up. So it was another one of those fights where we saw Whittaker was able to pretty successfully defend takedowns, and then he was just able to outstrike Romero on the feet. So that's where I'm looking at this matchup of Marvin Vettori and how I generally think the matchup is going to go. I think on the feet, Whittaker is going to have advantages. And then in terms of the wrestling, I don't think that Vettori is going to be able to take down Whittaker consistently. And even if he does, we've seen really good grapplers who weren't able to hold Whittaker on the mat. And I know there is kind of this thought that, well, Vettori is going to be potentially bigger than Robert Whittaker. I think Whittaker is bigger than a lot of people realize, though. He's been talking about moving up to 205 pounds and fighting at light heavyweight after this fight. Now, I think he'd massively undersized for 205, but it does go to show that if that's a thought in his mind, he's not maybe as small compared to Vettori as people might think. So stylistically, I do think this is a pretty good matchup for for Whittaker against Vettori. Defend the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet, then win a striking battle. That's generally how I think this is going to play out. We do see Whittaker lands a little bit more significant strikes per minute compared to Marvin Vettori. He also absorbs slightly less damage, 60% takedown, 60% striking defense compared to 59% for Vettori. It's pretty narrow edges there, but I do think there is a overall clear advantage for Whittaker on the feet. There's a little more output there. So that's ultimately how I think how the fight plays out. Goes to decision. Whittaker wins it unanimously. So first bet of the day, Robert Whittaker, -115 to win by decision. Today's show is sponsored by DK Sportsbook. And if you guys have not signed up at DraftKings yet, they've got a free money offer that you should be taking advantage of. Because if you place any $5 bet on a football game, whether it be NFL or college, DK Sportsbook is going to give you $200 for free. That's it. That's all you have to do. We have a number of football videos on our YouTube channel. We've got Lofty breaking down all our football games. He was doing preseason. I know preseason is gone now, but just showing that we've really had everything covered. And then Makdessi is really one of the sharper football people I know. He's been breaking down all the college football games. So you can check out any of their videos for additional football picks. And then once again, you just click on the link below in the description box or in the comment section. You head on over to DK, you place a $5 bet, and you're getting $200 for free. It's free money, so don't pass up this opportunity. The next bet I'm looking at, it is John Makdessi plus 190 against Nasrat Haqparast. And to be honest, I do favor Haqparast to win the fight. I just think the line is too wide, and a lot of the metrics actually kind of point towards Makdessi potentially being a favorite in this fight, if at the very least more live than what the odds suggest. The main concern with Makdessi is just age. He's 37 years old. He has a lot of mileage on him. Haqparast is a significantly younger fighter. But with all that said, Makdessi lands 5.57 significant strikes per minute. Haqparast lands 5.17. And then in terms of damage absorbed, Makdessi only absorbs 4.02 significant strikes per minute compared to 4.7 for Haqparast. I don't expect either of them to really be wrestling. So this is a fight that should take place at the feet. Despite Makdessi being 37 years old, he has never landed a takedown throughout his UFC career. And on the Haqparast side, he only lands 0.13 takedowns per minute. But on the other side, Makdessi has an 89% takedown defense. So I do think this is a fight that's going to be taking place on the feet. And it does look like, just based on the numbers, that there is better defense from Makdessi. And then there's also a little bit more striking output. Now, like I said, the one concern, which is why I'm not just saying like this is the greatest bet of all time, is that just the age concerns with Makdessi. Has he slowed down? It is possible. He's not all that active at this point in his career. We see him fight about once every year. One fight in 2021, one in 2020, one in 2019, one in 2018, one in 2017, and then two in 2016. But right now we're looking at a point in his life where he's fighting about once per year. And then on the other side with Haqparast, while he is the younger fighter, he's kind of disappointed me in terms of development, because when he was first rising up through the UFC ranks, I thought he had potential to be a really good fighter. Maybe not a contender, but certainly somebody who could beat some of the upper echelon fighters in this division. And he's just kind of gotten outclassed when he's fought some of the higher level guys. Against Dan Hooker, that was a fairly one-sided fight. Hooker ended up outstriking him 73-27, also landed 3 takedowns. Then the last fight for Haqparast against Bobby Green, 188 significant strikes landed by Bobby Green, just 76 for Haqparast. So he just hasn't really made any significant developments like I thought he would have. He's still young, only 27 years old. But with that said, still, we haven't seen him fight an opponent, or I should say beat an opponent, who's as experienced or as successful in the UFC as John Makdessi has been. So I would, just based on age, maybe slightly favor Haqparast in this fight. I think that maybe something more like a -130 or -140 would be more acceptable. But I do think that since this fight should be fairly competitive and take place on the feet, where more variance tends to happen, anybody could get hurt at any point, I'm be taking the long underdog odds on John Makdessi. So plus 190, I think the odds here, once again, just too long. So I'm going to take the value side on Makdessi. For my final bet of the card, I'm taking dog money on Nathaniel Wood plus 130 against Charles Jourdain. Now, there's been a lot of line movement towards Jourdain. It does seem like the public and the money is coming in on the Jourdain side, and I don't totally agree with it. I think this should be, once again, a fairly close fight, but That's where I'm liking the plus money we're getting on Nathaniel Wood, especially because the line keeps getting wider. Because I think that Nathaniel Wood has a pretty significant wrestling and grappling advantage over Charles Jourdain. So I think the way a lot of people are probably seeing this fight is that Nathaniel Wood was fairly chinny when he was fighting at bantamweight. Now he's at featherweight. And Charles Jourdain is a fighter who's very explosive, has a lot of power. And there is a path for Jourdain to hurt Nathaniel Wood on the feet and potentially finish him. But one way that Nathaniel Wood could really take that out of play, land takedowns, get some top control. If you have Charles Jourdain on the mat, he's not going to be knocking you out. And Nathaniel Wood, we have seen him in the past at times be pretty aggressive and effective as a wrestler. He lands 1.24 takedowns per 15 minutes. Charles Jourdain has never landed a takedown in his UFC career, but here's also something that really stands out to me in the numbers. Charles Jourdain, only a 51% takedown defense. In his last fight, he was going up against Shane Burgos, who's no longer in the UFC because he left to go fight in the PFL. And I think he's probably favored to win $1 million over in that division over in the PFL. But that aside, Burgos has never been known as a wrestler or a grappler during his time in the UFC. He was able to land a couple of takedowns against Jourdain in that fight, and he was able to have 6.5 minutes of control time. So nearly half the fight, Shane Burgos was controlling Charles Jourdain on the mat. And I do think that Nathaniel Wood is a better wrestler and grappler than Shane Burgos is. So I think that's a pretty clear path to victory for Nathaniel Wood. The one thing I'd obviously be concerned with here is that he doesn't utilize the best game plan and just trades on the feet with Charles Jourdain, which if that's the case, he's opening himself up to get hurt and potentially knocked out. But if he fights with a smart game plan here, goes and looks to wrestle and grapple, I would actually be favoring Nathaniel Wood to win the fight. And when you consider that we're getting plus 130 odds on him, I think that's good value. So once again, final bet of the day, Nathaniel Wood plus 130 to win over Charles Jourdain. So to recap the 3 bets that I'm placing for this UFC Saturday card over in Paris, main event, Tai Tuivasa versus Ciryl Gane. I have Robert Whittaker minus 115 to win by decision, John Makdessi plus 190, and then finally Nathaniel Wood plus 130. So a couple of plus money bets in there that I do think present good value. But what do you guys think is good value on the board? Anything that you like that's on the card for tomorrow, let me know below in the comment section. If you got good logic for it, maybe I'll put a few dollars on it as well, potentially tail you guys. I'm always interested to see what you guys have to say. And then also, if any of those bets win, you get yourself a chance to win a free subscription to our premium betting Discord. Other than that, before you leave, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and then of course, good luck tomorrow and enjoy the card.